kind of brings us back to the Syria issue and how you would deal with that with Putin. He seems to be saying that that's not your wheelhouse. That kind of thing isn't what you do.
He's welcome to have that belief, but I believe as the American people have more opportunity to see and hear me and hear my solutions, which are based in logic and in evidence, that they will make the correct decision.
You know, maybe owing to your rocketing up in the polls and the fact that you've been raising a lot of money in all denominations, from all sorts of folks, maybe you're getting more mentioned by your competitors more often. This is from Mike Huckabee. Listen to this.
If you were going to have surgery in the morning, do you want a doctor cutting you open who has never been in an operating room, in fact, never finished medical school? Do you want a pilot flying in the left seat of the cockpit who's never flown an airplane, but he's played some video games? I'm just not sure that the White House is an entry-level job.
I think what he said is you're a fantastic doctor. Leave it at that.
Well, you know, interestingly enough, everybody thinks that whatever they do is the most fabulous thing and is the thing that qualifies you. You know, that's human nature. I understand that. I don't get involved in that.
So it doesn't worry that people invariably on a campaign, they're going to raise, you know, you're a great surgeon, great neurosurgeon, and all of this stuff is the stuff that you're well known for. But that when it comes to these thorny issues, particularly these international incidents that have popped up, you're not.
Well, you know, I could very easily say, you know, bad things about them and things that they haven't done. But the fact of the matter is, you know, I'm not one-dimensional. You know, I spent 18 years on the board of directors of Kellogg, 16 years on the board of directors of Costco, was the chairman of the board of Vaccinogen, a biotech company, started a national nonprofit, 9 of 10 of which fell. Ours is in all 50 states, active, has won major national awards that are only given to one organization in the country out of tens of thousands. How many of them have done that? I don't know. But I can tell you one thing, a person who knows how to solve problems can solve problems in lots of different arenas.
You know, obviously it hasn't hurt you in the fundraising front. If anything, it's apparently been a draw to a lot of the people who've given to you and feel that you are a different type of candidate. $20 million in the last 3 months, $31 million since you announced your candidacy, probably more, because these are dated figures. Half from online sources. What do you think's going on?
Well, for one thing, we have a very active social media, which gives me an opportunity to interact with a lot of people. And they have an opportunity to actually hear my solutions rather than have it reinterpreted for them through media. I mean, if you listen to the media and you listen to the pundits, the only thing that they do consistently is get everything wrong. So, you know, people are, you know, starting to think for themselves, and I think that's going to be the salvation of our nation. It was Thomas Jefferson who said that, you know, we would get into this place where we're almost ready to turn into something else, and that somehow the people would wake up and they would realize what was going on, and they would rise up and they would once again take control. And I believe that that's what's happening.
In this debate going on with the economy, we have a jobs report. It was very weak. And it's prompted a lot of folks to say that we are heading into something bad. In this environment, they said the only prescription might be, and Donald Trump has said, Jeb Bush has said, some aggressive tax cutting. You've argued for that. Where you differentiate is how far you take those tax cuts, and that I think you had said that everyone should be paying something in taxes. In the Trump plan, 70-some-odd million families would not be. What do you make of that?
Well, I think that everybody should have skin in the game, because to me it doesn't make sense for half of the people not to be paying federal income tax, but to have something to say about how much the others have to pay. To me that seems basically unfair. But, you know, in terms of our economy, the situation is awful. You know, we're talking about, you know, these paltry number of jobs right now, but this has been going on for quite some time. And the labor force participation rate, it is its lowest point in 37 years. And I don't even know why we go around talking about an unemployment rate of 5.1%. That is just a foolishness, because anybody who knows anything about economics knows that you can make that number anything you want by who you include and who you exclude. Let's talk about the numbers that make sense.
All right, so if you're looking at those numbers, you don't buy that unemployment rate what it is, there are two schools of thought on that. You've got to do something much more aggressive on the part of Washington to stimulate growth, to get taxes going, to get growth going. Can you really depend on just cutting taxes, though? Is it your sense that maybe Republicans are too busy tripping over themselves who offers the lowest or flattest or simplest tax form?
No, it's really multifactorial. There are a number of things that have to be done. If you've got half an hour, we can talk about it. But you know, you look, for instance, at what's happening with the Fed and the suppression of interest rates, and what the impact of that is. And that's been suppressed for going on a decade now. Joe the butcher used to take 5% of his earnings and put them in the bank each week and watch that grow over decades. And when he was ready to retire, he had a beautiful nest egg. He's not encouraged to do that anymore, and he doesn't have any mechanism for growing his money. The poor and the middle class are stuck. The only people who can grow their money are people who have risk tolerance, who can use the stock market. Those tend to be people who have money. So you see that income gap growing. And then you have all these regulations. Every single regulation costs us in terms of goods and services, but it costs everybody the same. But who gets hit disproportionately? The poor people and the middle class. It's these asinine policies that are driving these income gaps and keeping people suppressed. And yet you'll have people come along like Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton and say, it's the rich people, that's the problem. Well, I'll tell you something. You can take every penny that the top 1% has, and you apply it to our fiscal gap of over $200 trillion, and you haven't even made a dent.
You could look at that. I mean, I think you're talking about the overall debt that's out there. Those middle-class voters voted in large numbers for Barack Obama. Minority voters, 9 out of 10 for Democrats. Jeb Bush was recently quoted as saying, I'll offer black voters hope and not free stuff. What did you make of that?
Well, I think that's what we all should be thinking about. You know, what was offered by the current administration is lots of change, but no hope. And I think that's why you have all these tinderbox situations and a great deal of frustration.
Well, did you find the free stuff comment offensive?
Well, I knew what he was. I know exactly what he's talking about. You know. It doesn't do any good to leave somebody in a state of dependency and to just give them things and not to provide a ladder which allows them to ascend and become a part of the fabric of America. And we must be particularly concerned about that right now because we only have 330 million people. And we're competing with China and India with over 1 billion people. We need to develop all of our people. This needs to be a national strategy for us. How do we do this?